So, as the first case, I'm going to show you a skin booster process that contains 2% PDRN, softly cross-linked hyaluronic acid and glutathione for the patient with oily skin. I'll do the procedure, the injection, the needle at an angle that is not perpendicular but oblique, about 50 degrees. And the amount of injection can be injected in a shape that is very embossed. You can see the embossed shape. If the injection volume is too much or too deep at the injected depth, the injection of a target we want may not be able to be injected. The most important thing for beginner to watch out is the depth of the skin and then the amount of injection. So I have just used about 25% out of a PDRN, 2.5 ml on this side. Now, let me show right side. The amount of injection is very small, just 0.01 to 0.02 cc. And then don't put too much. If the injection volume is too much or too deep at the injected depth, the injection of a target we want may not be able to be injected. The another tip is that if you slightly pull the skin up in the temple area, it will spread out and make the injection easier. There are four lines when you inject, but in between, you can pass first and then apply on the second injection. If you inject a fine wrinkle in the area around the eyes in this way, it induces the collagen growth in part and improve the elasticity on the dermis on the skin. You can get the effect at once, but if you do it repeatedly, you can see that the skin texture and density around your eyes are improved. The forehead is sensitive to pain, and the skin is very thin. Therefore, use this cold roller ice pack in advance to make your skin very cold to relieve pain. As you can see, the patient has acne marks on his oily skin and wide pores. Then we will use Bellavita PDRN again to do the treatment mainly on area with many marks and wide pores. Let me tell you a few things about forehead procedure. First, start by the moving from the outside, that is the temple area, to the center of the forehead. This is to make a rule. The most important thing for beginner to watch out is the depth of the skin and then the amount of injection. The amount injected is 0.01 to 0.02 cc, and the injection depth is a subdermis. Make the emboss appear like any other area. So you can see the emboss. The important blood vessel on the forehead is the supratrochlear and the supraorbital between the 17 millimeter and the 27 millimeter from the center line. So don't get too deep injection, especially when you inject. And as you know very well, after main forehead treatment is complete, the entire forehead is covered by applying the treatment to the area under the forehead, the skin just over the eyebrow, and then near the hairline above. I'm going to show you a second case skin booster procedure. Overall, she has a great texture. The reason why skin boosters are so hot in Korea these days is because they may lack moisture. The second patient is a patient with clear skin in her early 30s, but she wants PDRN treatment. I'll do the procedure. If you look at the procedure, you can see that this amount of and depth corresponds to the 1 to 2 ml so that embossing occur when injected, and that sufficient amount has been delivered to the dummies. You don't have to worry because the white emboss that you see here usually disappear within 30 minutes to an hour. The amount of injection can be from 0.01 to 0.02 cc, but it is appropriate if the amount is enough to create emboss shape by injecting it into the dummies. This is the forehead procedure. As mentioned earlier, the injection is a start from the outside to the forehead and then move to the center of the forehead. This is to make a rule. The amount injected is 0.01 to 0.02 cc and the injection depth is subdermis. Especially around the eye, there are a lot of fine lines. It dries easily, but it also gives a lot of facial expression. So if you use a skin booster, it will help with the anti-aging. Now I'm going to show you a third case skin booster procedure. The third patient was an early 50s hoping for anti-aging treatment. If you look at the preparation process, that is a 3.3 ml. Use a 3 cc syringe to drain the contents. It has a viscosity, so if you use a very thin syringe, it's hard because there's some resistance. I mentioned earlier, the injection depth is about 1 to 2 millimeter for the skin, and the injection amount is 0.01 to 0.02 ml. If you can check it, the depth of amount of the emboss is appropriate. This embossing will disappear within 30 minutes or about 1 hour. Since there are dark circles, you can check the effect of improving fine wrinkle by maintaining moisture balance and then increase the density of the dermis. The skin around the eye is thin and dry, and wrinkles appear early due to the facial expression wrinkle, making it a good target for the skin booster. I'll do the procedure from left to right. The skin on the forehead is very thin. Therefore, the contents must be injected within 1 to 2 millimeters and keep the angle of the syringe very obliquely and inject 0.01 to 0.02 ml of injection amount. So then you can see the emboss amount. You don't inject from deeply when you're injecting them in depth, and as you can see, you have to inject them in the same depth as the emboss. That's it for the forehead treatment. Now I'm going to show you a skin booster procedure using Bella Pro. The first patient is a patient who needs treatment for anti-aging with a broken moisture balance. As you can see, the pitch is that the contents inside don't leak. As you can see, it is very compact and prevents the contents from leaking. There are advantages of using this drug delivery system and equipment rather than using it with our hand. First of all, the pain is very low, so the operator and the person who is undergoing the procedure can receive the procedure very comfortable. And this goal is to reach 100% of dermis of Bellavita Aqua. So if we do it with a manual, we can adjust the amount properly. But the advantage of Bella Pro is that it relieves pain, allows the exact amount to be injected into the desired depth. Personally, the pain is very low, so I think it's much less than the previous model. I think the desired volume is added to the target layer that I want without any leakage. In short, it's soft and strong. The motor sound is very low, but it's stronger than you think. So it can be injected into the target layer without leaking. We will give you a main treatment tip. The tip should lightly touch the skin. You should feel the skin sticking upward slightly due to the suction. Only then the contents are injected into the skin through the needle while the skin is strongly pulled, while the tip is in close contact with the skin, and then leakage can be reduced. Since the skin around the eye, under the eye is thin, use the thumb and index finger on the other hand to spread the surrounding skin and then continue the procedure. The skin on the forehead is very thin, so the epidermis is also very thin. The forehead is quite painful when manually injected, but there is almost no pain when injected with the Bella Pro machine. You can treat it the same way you would any other face area. Now we treat the chin on the upper part of the mouth. Generally, I think the skin on the chin and lip will be thin, but it's thicker than I thought. There are curves around this area, so just enough for the skin. During the marionette line procedure, use the index finger and thumb on the other hand to inflate the skin to make a flat surface without curvature, so that the contents are delivered well without leakage. When performing Pilgrim treatment, ask, do you want your upper lip to go down? It must be lowered down to ensure sufficient space for the treatment. As you can see, it injects with any little leakage. If you get it, you can see that it's gently and strongly injected. I think it's well made. It seems that the needle was made more precisely than before, and then the length, thickness of the bevel are important for the needle, but they seem to be optimized for Bella Pro. I used a lot Bella machine, but I think it's my first time seeing them being injected into very powerful depth control with such a small sound. When performing Pilgrim treatment, ask, do you want your upper lip to go down? It must be rolled down to ensure sufficient space for the treatment. I injected Bellavita Aqua using inject on the upper lip, philtrum, and on the chin. Now, I show the neck treatment. The thickness of the skin around the neck is very thin, like around the eye. Recognizing that it's thinner than I thought, I lowered the depth from the 1 to 2 millimeter, since the epidermis is about 0.05 millimeter thin. We adjusted the depth a little. In my experience, the eye and forehead are very painful, but not neck. We can inject comfortably. As you can see, when you use Bella Pro, it's a compound that you inject exactly enough of the medication you want without leakage. In my experience, there are a lot of individual difference between people in the 30s and the 50s. You can have a deep wrinkle from early age, and then you can have a deep wrinkle as you get older. The common things is that as you get older, the density of dermis decreased, the elasticity decreased, and fine wrinkle appear. So you get skin booster treatment a lot. So these Bellavita PDRN and then Bella Pro have been upgraded very finely. So I think this machine and solution will be best choice for you if you are trying to get rid of wrinkle on the face and neck, give elasticity and balance the moisture in your skin.